My name is Casey Burkholder, and Funké Aladejebi, Josh Schwab-Cartas, and I recently edited a book with Routledge called Facilitating Community Research for Social Change, Case Studies in Qualitative, Arts-Based, and Visual Research. Today, Josh and I are going to talk with Emma McKenna about her chapter with Ryan Conrad called Lessons Learned, Lessons Shared, Reflections on Doing Research in Collaboration with Sex Workers and Sex Worker-Led Organizations. Their chapter takes up concerns with how to ethically approach research with marginalized communities. As activist academics, Ryan and Emma seek to provide a best practices guide for researchers, students, and community workers doing collaborative research with sex worker-led organizations and with individuals who do sex work. The chapter contributes to recent conversations in the social sciences and humanities examining the criminalization of sex work, the impact of criminalization on sex workers and their clients, the stigmatization of sex workers, the inaccuracy of human trafficking frameworks on sex workers' lived realities, and sex worker-led community activism. Through this work, the authors highlight the first longitudinal study in Canada to examine sex worker mutual aid strategies during crisis.
Emma, we have to say we absolutely, all three of us, loved your chapters so much, both of your chapters. And we had a few questions. And I guess our first question really is, what does your chapter teach us about facilitation?
Great, thank you for the question, and thanks for having me, Casey and Joshua and Funké, who is not here right now. Our chapter really, in terms of trying to think about facilitation, is looking at how a marginalized group that is also overrepresented in research, which are sex workers and sex work communities, how we can engage with those communities in a way that doesn't put more burden on sex workers themselves to do the teaching and to give information to academia, and not just be a sort of extractive relationship of academics coming in and taking resources from sex work communities without thinking through how to give back. So that's sort of a really central point of what we try to do in our chapter. And we do that through coming up with, I guess it's a 10-step best practices guide for students and professors or NGOs, or really anyone who might initiate a research project, thinking about how they can approach sex workers or sex worker organizations that puts the needs of sex workers first prior to the needs of academics.
So what else do we need to consider in relation to facilitation in a research for social change framework?
I think something that's really important to consider is that groups are heterogeneous. So communities are all different. The people within a community are not the same people. They don't have the same interests or experiences or lifestyles. And when we think about sex work communities, there are really kind of stereotypical or monolithic perceptions of who a sex worker might be and who might be in a sex working community. So that's something that I think our chapter really tries to talk about, is that this is a community full of diversity, full of differences, and we can't approach it as if we know everything already, or as if we're dealing with people that are that different from any other group, but also that they have their own unique differences as well within that group.
Amazing. Thank you so much for talking about your chapter with us today.
Thank you so much for having Dr. Conrad and my chapter in your book. It's been a wonderful process. Thank you.
Thanks.